back. Rip City Real Talk is back, and we're excited to get to you guys. It's been a little weird. We're a little off kilter right now with our scheduling. Some people heard on the Twitter announcement, but my father passed away recently. Had an unexpected heart attack last week on Labor Day. So we were planning on recording a little bit sooner, but I've been down here in Arizona helping out with, all the stuff that needs to be done for my family. So we were excited to finally get back a little later than usual, but it's given us a chance to have a lot of news come up, which is pretty cool. We have quite a few signings available to the team right now in training camp, non-guaranteed contracts we'll talk about. We're still going to break down the November schedule for you guys and continue to do a month-by-month basis on that per episode and some other fun things. So we're pretty stoked. And before we get into any of that, Anthony Blaylock, Craig Moshkow, I'm excited to talk to you guys. We've gotten a lot of support recently, which is great. Mm-hmm. We've decided to come up with two giveaways. Two giveaways. We're going to potentially give one away sooner than later. Mm-hmm. It really kind of depends. But the first giveaway is going to be when we hit the 500 subscriber mark. We were debating between going 500 and 1,000, but we've had a lot of fun with you guys. So if we hit 500 subscribers, we're going to do a random drawing from those subscribers to give away tickets to a game that comes out after that, since we can't obviously guarantee when that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. There's no way to know what game that's going to be quite yet, but it will be one of the games that's pretty shortly after we hit that 500 mark. So as we get closer, pay attention to the schedule to know kind of what games we might be giving tickets away to. And to second that, another ticket giveaway for the Boston Celtics game on 12/4. It's my dad's favorite team. It's kind of a way to honor him. He loved Portland as well, but he grew up a Larry Bird fan. He was a Celtics fan. So in the spirit of giving, which is what he would like me to do, he loved this podcast. I think we'll be giving away 2 tickets to that. Again, not quite sure how we're going to run the contest quite yet, how we're going to do that. But I am going to be getting the tickets for it soon. And I think come November, we'll probably come up with a way to do that in one of the videos to have you guys, get lucky and get drawn for that. So some exciting news. Again, we've been growing a little bit more here and here. We're starting to get subscribers going up. And as that continues to grow, we will continue to do more giveaways and fun things throughout next year.
Absolutely, man. And everybody's thinking about you and your family right now. And appreciate you setting some time aside to do the pod this week. It has been pretty hectic, but we have so much to cover and we have so little time to get through what I think is actually a big 2 weeks worth of news.
Yeah.
And I think we should go through a couple of things here, but I'll let you kick it off wherever you want to start. What do you want to start with?
Yeah, I think we jump right into some of the training camp contracts. We have recently signed Dennis Smith Jr., we've signed Marquise Chris, and recently, just within 4 or 5 days ago, Patrick Patterson. So kind of want to talk about that because currently the team is at 13 guaranteed roster spots. I've gotten a lot of questions on social media about who we think the 14th spot should go to, could go to, etc. I think this is going to start to answer some of those questions. Obviously, these guys are getting invited to training camp to see how they do with the roster, right? How they play with the guys that are already guaranteed, who's going to be the best fit. It's possible we go to our full 15 with 2 of these 3 guys. I don't see it. I think we're going to keep one open. So chances are one of these guys is going to be who gets that 14th spot for now. And there's going to be a pretty good debate because we've talked about all year wanting a backup point guard. Well, here's Dennis Smith Jr. We also definitely need big man depth, right? So here comes Chris and Patrick Patterson. And we're going to talk about what each guy brings to the team, probably who we think is going to get that 14th spot. And I'll kick it off with Dennis Smith Jr., just because he's the only non-big that we have right now that's on this list. What do you think of him, man?
9th overall pick in 2017, 15-5 in his rookie year. He's a bit of an efficient scorer. And I'm sorry, I should say an inefficient scorer, which is something that we're actually really used to in Portland, right? We're used to guards who take a lot of volume. I think he's I don't want to say a poor man's Dame because he does have a different game and a different style, but he has some really raw athleticism. He has a lot of triple doubles here and there. He's more athletic than I think he gets credit for, which is why he was a lottery pick. I like Dennis Smith Jr. I just question, and I think this may be something for you too. He and Anthony seem really redundant to me. They're both combo guards. They're both really athletic. They both have not really lived up to the hype coming out of the draft, and neither one of them has hit their potential. So I don't understand the redundancy there. Is that where you fall with Dennis Smith as well, or are you cool with taking a risk on it?
Yeah, I think I had written down that I feel he's a little too similar to Amp. The thing about Dennis Smith is he's a rim attacker. He's not a good shooter.
No.
He's never been a good shooter. I think his career average from field goal is 40%. That's bad. That's not great.
It's not good.
That lack of a shot concerns me with some of the fit with the guys around him.
Totally.
However, he is a rim attacker. That's what he's known for. As you said, he's very athletic. He can go up and dunk. He was kind of brought into the league, started off with Dallas doing that. He spent the last few years in New York. Again, they brought him in to try to tap into that and see if they could evolve it a little bit more, and it really hasn't worked out for him. But he is only 23 years old. The thing with him is you could easily put him in at point guard and you could run Amp at shooting guard.
Sure.
If you do that, I'm not completely opposed to the idea because Amp can still get out and shoot. It allows Amp to play off ball a little bit more, and Dennis Smith has proven that he's not a bad passer. He's actually a pretty decent decision maker with the ball in his hands, mainly because he attacks so much that he's able to pass out of it, and he sets a lot of guys up. And you have to think about who he's going to potentially be playing with. We know Zeller. We know Larry Nance. We don't necessarily know the forward position 100%. They could mix in Schnell. They'll probably have Little play that role. And with all those guys, I think he fits really well, and it does take the ball out of Amp a little bit more, which I like because I think Amp really has to be the scorer on that second unit. I think he's the guy that's got to come out and have 10 to 15 points a night try to be that type of guy, that role. So it does allow that a little bit more. Dennis Smith will push the pace a lot, which I like. He's an up and down guy. He's fast. He's going to attack, and he's going to draw fouls. So I'm not completely opposed to him. I do think he's too similar to Amp right now. I think having McLemore out there is probably a better fit at shooting guard at the time. We also have Schnell, and we're going to play a lot of minutes with CJ and Dame. So the guards are pretty well taken care of when you look at the roster right now. I'm not necessarily needing another guard at this point. I wanted a backup point guard, but that was before we went and got McLemore. And both guys are going to sit in corners and shoot threes.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of leaves Anthony to run that point guard position again. I hope that he evolves his playmaking a little bit more. He was getting better and better. We've talked about it multiple times. So all for that. I don't think Dennis Smith is the guy that I want. I do like his defense. He averages a steal a game. He's really done that his entire career, which is pretty impressive. That comes with that athleticism. So he's not a bad defensive guard when it comes to being in the right position and help defense and getting deflections and things like that. But I just don't see him being a good fit for this roster myself. I like bringing him in. He was a lottery pick. He had a high pedigree, but again, doesn't seem like the fit is really there when you look at some of the guys we have and where the minutes are going to be distributed.
Yeah, it seems low probability that he's going to play a big minutes or a meaningful role on this team. Now, I'm not saying that Patrick Patterson or Marquise Chris, either one of them, are going to play a large role either. But what I'm saying is, so for Dennis Smith, that's fine. I love that Neil's bringing in talent, whether it be a former lottery pick. It doesn't matter to me. Yeah. Bring in talent. Put them in the summer league. Put them in training camp and see how they do, see how they gel. I think it's worth the risk. I don't see any downside to that. For me, though, the one that I would like of these three the most to make the roster or to be signed for the rest of the year is Marquise Chris. I like Marquise Chris. I have always liked him. I definitely think that he, being a lottery pick, had very high expectations for his career. But he's been on winning teams. He played with Golden State. He knows a lot about our motion offense. The other thing that I like about Marquise Chris is, and it's really simple, when you look at Nurk and you look at Zeller, the two of them have durability issues. So if anyone's going to play a prominent role, I could see Chris playing a small ball five, being a rim running shot blocker. I think he would have the most likely success of this team, and his skill set also fits his team. We need a good front court defender. We need someone who can just fill in and be there. And the biggest thing is, I don't think Patrick Patterson can play the five. I've done a lot of research on him. I know he's kind of a big four. He can play that Rondé Hollis-Jefferson big forward, but I don't think he can play small ball five, and I don't think he gives us what we need on this team. So that's why I would vote for Chris, but we can go through the Patterson thing and talk more about him too.
No, let's stay with Chris because I like that, and I agree with you. I mean, you spoiled the fun here. I'll be honest with you. I was going to do, who do you want to cheat? Out of the three, you've already answered that question, so it's cool. You can take that away from me. I was going to do a whole game show thing. It was going to be great. I wasn't. But I think you're right for a lot of reasons because Chris can definitely come in and play center if we need him to. He is a little bit smaller weight-wise, but he's long. He's made a career playing backup big in general. You talk about Zeller and you talk about Nurk, but Nance is the same way. Again, he's missed some time the last couple of years. He hasn't been able to tap into his full potential, and it's probably why he was even on the trade block to begin with the kind of contract that he has, because he's had some durability issues. Otherwise, he's probably making Aaron Gordon money. He's a similar type player to that, very athletic, up and down dunker, can shoot good, et cetera, et cetera. So the fact that we were able to get him for what we got him for is because of the injuries and some of the things that have held his career back. So having another big is definitely more important to me than having a guard. So when we talk about these three guys, we've already kind of touched on why we don't think Dennis Smith is the best fit.
Yeah.
And then it kind of comes down to, Chris and Patterson. And we'll talk about both. I'll talk about Patterson in a sec. But for all the things you said, I like the energy that he's going to bring. If he does have to play any kind of minutes, because, again, we're talking about the 14th spot in the roster. I mean, realistically, none of these guys are going to do anything. But I do like how Neil's bringing in vets, as you put it, talent, lottery picks that maybe haven't panned out the last couple of years, but it's no more of these G League guys that you're moving up and down on the roster. You're bringing in guys right now that may still be projects, but at least they've got experience and they've been around a little bit and they've had some tenure in the league, and they're coming in with, like you said, untapped potential because they really haven't been able to keep their careers in check. Injuries just haven't evolved the way we want them to, et cetera, et cetera. So having him in the bottom of that roster as your backup big, I like a lot, because I think he can fit in there with Nance really well. I think he can fit in with Zeller really well if we have to. I do think that he plays a role where when the ball is moving a lot, when you start getting guys like Anthony out there passing the ball, and if Nance is out there, who's a great passer, as we've already talked about, this is the kind of center that to me is almost better than Zeller. Not a great defender. Yeah, he can block some shots, sure, but statistically he hasn't been great. I think that's another reason he's gotten ran off the court for some different teams, is he's never been a stellar defender. But again, I mean, having him there in camp and having that guy available to you to work with players like Dame and Nurk and all of that, I think it will improve him, considering he's been on some teams where he really hasn't had a chance to get a role or play with anybody that's been able to coach him or train him. He hasn't had any good bigs that he's been around. Draymond Green, sure, but nobody that can really do what I think Nurk and some of these other guys can do for him as far as player coaching and things like that. So I like him. And that brings us to Patrick Patterson. So he's the complete opposite of the last two guys we talked about, huh?
Yeah, he's the more veteran. He's been around for a long time. He makes the hustle plays. He's in the right spots. He's that dude when you're playing at the YMCA who's just better than you think he should be, because he's not the most athletic guy. He wasn't, all these things. But the most minutes Patrick Patterson has ever played is 25 minutes per. He averaged 11 and 5 on 51% shooting for that season. So he's not a guy that you're going to rely on statistically. He is more going to be one of those glue hustle guys. I'd be totally fine with it. I mean, I understand what he would bring, and I understand that he could help this team in certain ways. I see him a lot in that Rondé Hollis-Jefferson mold, where he's helping versatility defending with Rocco. Versatility.
Just no, moving on.
Yeah, he's a really versatile guy.
Professionals.
Well, but here's the other thing about Patrick Patterson is he's a floor spacer, right? So he can actually help you a little bit with some outside shooting. He has that potential. I do think we have enough of that already actually in the front court with Nance now that I think we're okay there. But either way, these guys can both play in camp, and you can see which one fits better with the second or third team, depending on how you want to roll them out. And it's nice that we're doing something. I think it's nice to see activity out of Neil. What else did you have on Patrick Patterson from your notes?
Well, I kind of touched on it there real quick. I think he fits more as a stretch four. I don't think he can come in. I mean, he can probably play center if you have to. I mean, you can always do small ball center. I mean, there's always a way to make that work depending on the team you're playing against. But he is a stretch four. I mean, that at this point in his career, he shoots 36.9, so basically 37% from three. That's pretty good for a bigger guy. He shoots 44% overall, so he's obviously not a great finisher around the rim, where his numbers are probably a little bit higher than that for a big guy. He is 31 years old, so he's up there a little bit, but he kind of fits that same mold as Dame and CJ's at that same age group. The thing that really stood out to me is he spent the last couple of years with the Clippers.
Yes.
And he's played not a huge role. The minutes really haven't been there, but a big enough role where he's been in games. He's gotten some time because of injuries and other things, and he's played well, especially being that floor spacer.
Yes.
That's important to think about, because obviously Chauncey Billups is, has been around him. It has been around him. He was his coach last year, so he knows a little bit what he's getting. There was a couple guys that were brought up. Enos, Beasley again was another one. There were a few forwards that the team was looking at about a week ago, and they decided out of these other guys to go with him. That's important because that tells me that Chauncey went to Neil and said, hey, this guy's out there. I know him, and I want you to bring him in. Tells me that Chauncey has an idea how he can use him. And that's important because you have that coach-player relationship, and I think that's a little unspoken of right now. It's important to think about because, like you, I don't see the need for another floor spacer. I mean, Nance can shoot the three. Little obviously can shoot the three. We saw him improving. Amp, McLemore, Schnell. Everybody on that bench outside of Zeller at this point can probably shoot the three. So having another guy that can come in and do that, I mean, I like it because it's going to continue to give you versatility. It's going to make things harder on an opposing defense. But I just think that Chris gives you more of an energy that we need. We need a guy that can go out there and make big plays and big moments. And, even if it's not efficient all the time, I just don't see Patterson being the guy to do that. Now, because of his relationship with Chauncey, to be honest with you, I think he's the most likely roster spot at this point.
I can see that. Yeah, I think so too.
I just think that they brought him in for a specific reason. I think we have a fit with the big man. We need big men to back up Zeller and Nance. We really don't have anything back there outside a little. So I think that he's kind of the guy to do that, and his relationship with Chauncey. It's just hard to overlook that right now.
I'm with you.
But
I definitely think he's the most plug and play option, right? I mean, he's going to fit in with this team. He's exactly what we need. I just feel like Chris has more upside, and if things go sideways with the centers, I want a rim protector. One of the things we struggled with last season when we had Cantor and Mello and all this, we had no rim protection in the second and third unit. So if Nurk wasn't in there, we were just getting barraged with people attacking the rim. So I'd like to see more of that in the second unit, especially after we lost Derek Jones Jr., a famed defender in your eyes.
No, yeah, he was great. His 114 rate. No, but the thing is, Nance is a pretty good defender. So that's where I think with his ball movement, I think that Chris gives you a bit more energy. But I don't mind the vet move either. I mean, I was kind of going back and forth between these two guys. And at this point, when you're looking at trying to make a playoff run, having the guy who's been around the league and has been successful, I mean, he's 31 years old and he's still on rosters. He's still out here playing. Where we didn't know if Chris or even Dennis Smith at this point were going to be in that position.
Right.
So, playing with the Clippers the last couple of years, both playoff runs, again, gives him that experience that I think is very helpful. He just obviously went to the Western Conference Finals last year. So, again, I like what I'm getting out of that. I like that move for that reason because you can kind of fit him in, like you said. He's a guy that's going to come in, know his role. He's coachable, and he obviously knows some of the schemes that Chauncey wants to run, which is going to give him a leg up on these guys. Yeah. So you think Chris, right? You want Chris. Who do you think is the most realistic option for the 14th spot?
I think Patterson is the most likely just because, like you said, the familiarity for me. I think Chauncey is going to get some say in what happens throughout training camp. The other thing is this team is getting completely remade in coaching. What I mean by that is the systems that we're going to run. I mean, we don't know what those are exactly yet because Chauncey has never been a head coach before, but we do know that they're going to be very different, especially on the defensive end. And the more vets you can have that are familiar with it to help, even if they just help instill it or install it in training camp, that would be beneficial to me, even if he doesn't get signed for the entire year or anything like that. So I could see him riding out training camp just to help sort of get guys in the right spots and put them where they need to be so that they understand a coach on the floor a little bit. One of the things the Blazers have struggled with in the past is there's not a lot of connectivity on defense. There's literally no synergy at all. We just every single person is like an ISO defender in a one-on-one man situation. It's just been kind of ugly. And then they're all going and breaking under screens or falling apart on screens, trying to go over. And I think that this team needs to have some toughness and some synergy installed on the defensive end.
Yeah, I won't argue that at all. And we've already talked about it. I mean, when you think about what they did in Summer League, bringing in Fareed and Moutier and Beasley, and now you're talking about Dennis Smith and Marquise Chris and Patrick Pat. I mean, vets, guys that have been around. It's not a lot of young guys that they're bringing in to try out right now. And that tells me that, at least Neil's in the idea now that we need to get James surrounded with at least guys that have experience. Maybe not the best talent. And I still would don't think this team's going to be much of anything outside the second round until they make the move.
Yeah.
We've beaten.
Well, if any of these guys are playing significant minutes, something has gone wrong. We've talked about that in the past. I mean, these guys are your bench fillers at this point.
14th roster spot, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So that's how I feel about that.
Exactly. That's all I really have to say on that. It's going to be interesting to see if they decide to bring anybody else in at this point. Camp has started. I believe they're starting to get back into the gym. Either it was today or yesterday. I'm be honest with you, my mind's been all over the place when it comes to
not CJ. He hasn't been in the gym. He's been with his realtor. That dude is buying some winery or something like that. What's that guy doing?
Yeah, so he just bought a vineyard. I think it was 318 acres. It might have been more, maybe 48. There was an 8 in there.
Sheesh.
So he's gonna start up a vineyard, which is great. He's been working with some other companies. He has the Heritage 51. I'm not a wine guy.
Yeah, me either.
I was gonna buy it for the missus, but I didn't. It sold out. So congratulations, it sold out. I was gonna go do the whole box set thing for her because she's a CJ fan. Bless her heart. When he gets traded, she's gonna be devastated. Are you a wine guy? You don't look like a wine guy. I mean, I've known you for a long time. I know you generally drink beer with me, but I can't. I know you drink whiskey. I know all the good things that you drink, but I've never seen you sitting there with a good Merlot.
I mean, I will. I'll drink a Cab Sauv every once in a while, which is like a deep red, but I mean, it's not really like my favorite. I don't like whites. They're too sweet. I don't really care for wine. It's just, it's a lot of calories. I'd rather just drink beer. It doesn't make sense to me. But I will say it's the year of CJ, like 100%. This dude is now the Players Union president. He's already setting up for his post-basketball career. There's all this stuff going on. He's got deep ties to Portland. It doesn't seem like he's going to get moved. Like it's a good CJ year for him.
Yeah, and I believe him and his wife are expecting their first child. So congratulations on that. That was just announced recently as he was enjoying some festivities we'll talk about in a sec. So yeah, that's awesome. I mean, everything's going right for CJ except that it's still Portland.
I mean, that might not be a bad thing for him. He's making $35 million, so that's not a bad thing for him, you know?
No, I mean, I don't think Ben Simmons would be opening up a vineyard. I just don't see that being a thing.
No.
Simmons, Rose, I just can't. I can't see it. So yeah, everything's going right for CJ, and you know, his running mate, some other decent player on our team, is also having quite a bit of a life these days. Damian Lillard. He recently posted an Instagram post recommitting to Portland again, right? As if he hasn't committed to Portland enough, and we're never going to believe it because the song is just a different tune than it was a few years ago, wanting to bring a championship here and being, all the stuff that we heard LaMarcus said. Now all of a sudden it's, I don't know my future. We haven't figured out my future, et cetera, et cetera. But at this point, he is still committing. He posted an Instagram post saying, can't wait to get back here. Portland's my place, all that fun stuff that he should be saying right now as he gets ready to enter the year, doing what every good leader is going to do and trying to dampen down the drama and all the rumors and everything because you don't want it to be a distraction. And I can completely get behind that.
Love it.
And that's not the only thing that he's committing to. He committed to his wife recently. Yes. He got married. I saw some of the Instagram posts. It was quite the extravaganza.
We didn't get invited. Somehow our invites got lost.
I'm sure he reached out to me personally and said, "Hey,
message you."
Yeah. He DM'd. He popped in. He slid into my DMs. Is that what people say?
That's not right. No.
Is that wrong? Okay.
It's not wrong, but it's not right.
I'm out of it, man. I've heard the term. I don't think that's okay. Clearly, it's not the right.
He's
term.
A married man.
Oh, is that what that means?
It just basically means like they want to hang out.
Well, I don't see what's wrong with hanging out. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, we missed the invite. We were busy. I told him that we couldn't make it, so we were going to be there. You would have seen us there recording live, as every good Blazers fan should be. But yeah, exciting stuff for all around. I mean, a lot of guys are doing a bunch of great stuff right now. Nurk had his birthday recently, so everything's going great in Blazers world, except for the trade drama and all that fun stuff. But for now, camp is here. It's coming. They're getting back into the gym. It's starting to feel like a regular season, which is great. I mean, last year with the COVID stuff and not starting until December, we were talking about the video the other day, and we were just like, wow, we've only done 8 months. I swear it's been a year. The season's about to start, and I completely forgot that we had started so late. So
short off season, and then for some of these guys like Dame, they played on Team USA, which extended their off season, made it even shorter because the last season was going to feel so long. So I I can't wait for it to start. But it's also at the same time a little nerve-wracking because the big move, the quote-unquote big move, didn't happen. So I think a lot of us are sitting here waiting. And I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, at this point, we were surprised by the Nance thing last episode. We were surprised by some of the moves that have gone down. I thought trading into the second round was normal, or kind of we knew it was coming. As far as the next thing goes, I kind of want to talk about the streaming thing because that was kind of out of left field. Did you expect, or had you heard anything about the Blazers pairing with a streamer to get their games put on a streaming service?
No, I signed somebody's petition or reshared on the Twitter. I was involved in that. I was like, let me retweet that for you. Let's get this rolling. Let's get this up the ladder. But yeah, so I didn't hear anything until it was announced. I heard no rumors. I think I have every streaming service except this one, of course, right? I mean, of course. So we'll have to. You and me will make a business partners in crime, and we'll split the cost to get this because we're not going to miss our Blazers games, even though I go to 20 games a year anyway, primarily. But Fubo TV, Fubo
TV, yeah,
Fubo TV.
Yep, it's Root, so they're the ones that are in charge of it. So Root paired with Fubo, and it's $65 a month for the most basic package, and that gets you access to it.
Perfect. So yeah, that's at least there's a streaming option, man. I cut the cord a long time ago. I wasn't paying the prices anymore. I was on Hulu last year, and I'm hoping they still make some arrangements with them, some of their stuff. But for now, Root is on the Fubo. I want to say Fubu so bad.
Fubu, I know.
Fubo.
I hear you. We'll see.
Yeah, at least there's a streaming option, so I'm glad. It's cool that they're on Route because I think they're going to be able to hit Seattle and we can just kill the Sonics off once and for all. Just take over their entire market, make them all Blazers fans. Take that, Seattle. We love having rivalries with them. But yeah, so Fubo. I'm never going to say that right. Fubo TV is the new streaming deal. So if you're looking to follow the Blazers this year, watch their games, that is the place to do so. So cool. Find somebody to split it with, like what we're gonna do. Pay the half the price, and you're good to go. You're ready to roll.
Right.
So that's all the little news I have for you before we break down the November schedule. Before we break down the November schedule, we got to do your favorite segment, everybody's favorite segment. I know. Everybody's favorite segment. So Blaz'n New Trails Player of the Week. This one I'm dedicating to Pops. It's small, it's easy. I might have already done it. So if you follow us and you've been following us for a while, don't slap my wrist for this one. And again, name. I'm gonna do my best. Ime Udoka.
Yeah.
Him. He played with the Blazers. That's right. And now he is the Boston Celtics head coach. Most of you probably already know this because we were talking about coaching candidates. And I guarantee we already talked about him going to the Celtics because of the fact that he was a coaching candidate. But the Celtics seem to like us with Evan Turner, Damian Stoudemire, all at some point being involved. I think Stoudemire is an assistant this year. Played with us back in 2006. Look at him. There he is. Wearing the Rudy Fernandez number before Rudy Fernandez was Rudy Fernandez.
Right.
He also played for Portland State. I think he actually was born in Portland, so he's a native through and through. So looking forward to seeing what he can do for the Celtics. Again, we've already kind of touched on this in earlier pods, but Dad's favorite team is the Celtics. I wanted to do Enes Kanter, but that just seems stupid. We've talked about Kanter a million times. We'll probably get to him eventually when he does something cool. He'll probably be a Blazer next year anyway. It doesn't matter. So congrats. Again, being the head coach of the Celtics, I think that's going to make them more defensive-minded. Another player being a coach there. So great. That's really all I have. I didn't have anything too special here. Just wanted to find the most Celtics-y thing I could find. It was him or Kanter, and I just couldn't done the Kanter thing. So there you go. That's what I have there.
Rock on.
And with all of that, we can run into the schedule. So now we can do it. We can talk about the November schedule.
Okay.
Looking forward to it as we continue to break down a month-to-month basis here. I've got some notes on what the schedule is going to look like. Pretty tough run here for Portland.
It's definitely
here. It is. Look at you. You're pulling it up.
I got it.
Is awesome. I'm happy that we're doing it now. So here you go. Here's the schedule. A couple things that stand out to me right off the bat is Philadelphia twice. Once at home, once on the road. That's the first thing that I've noticed because obviously – there's still a hope in the back of my mind that CJ McCollum will be playing for the Philadelphia 76ers, and we'll have Ben Simmons, right?
Mhm.
We're hoping the move gets made. It's not my favorite move. I've talked about it, but it's the move that is out there. So I hope it happens. But either way, a lot of playoff teams on this list start going down. You get the revamped Chicago game there. That's going to be a fun one. Day after my birthday, I'll be going to that one. I already have my tickets.
Dang.
And then you play the Nuggets twice in this stretch, twice in 5 days. If you go down there and you look at it, let's see, they play them on the 23rd and they play them on the 14th. So not 5 days, but 5 games. I'm sorry. So that's going to be a big stretch right off the bat. A couple games in October, then you're rolling right into 2 games against the Nuggets, which obviously is going to be a big deal when it comes to the division and obviously being the team that knocked us out last year. So that's a thing I noticed. And then the other thing that I really kind of saw there was that stretch of the Lakers, Clippers, and Suns. That's going to be rough.
Yeah, especially because the other 2 are on the road.
Yeah, and it's a back-to-back with LA and Phoenix.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so right off the bat there, that's the first thing that I noticed. That's going to be rough. We have another 4-game home stretch there, right there between the 15th through the 23rd, that you really have to take advantage of. I don't know how the revamped Chicago team's going to look. Honestly, they're probably going to be pretty scary. It's going to take them a while to get going. I'm glad we kind of have them at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But that's another one of those teams that I think this year you're going to want to look for in the East. They remind me a lot of Indiana, just a lot of good talent that's young and really unproven.
Sure.
You're just kind of throwing together there with DeRozan going there and Ball on, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, what do you see here that you're worried about?
I mean, it's.
Where do we begin?
What's that?
I said, where do we begin, right?
I know it's tough. I think that what you're talking about, it doesn't start too terrible, right? You have to go east, and anytime that we have to travel east, it's really difficult. So we have to play Philly and Cleveland. I feel fine. Indiana and LA. When you talk about the Lakers, and then you're working into that Clippers and then Phoenix game, that's going to be 3 really rugged games. Indiana's kind of tough too, so that's going to be a tough stretch. But it does get a little lighter near the bottom. So Sacramento is like whatever. Golden State, it doesn't really scare me that much. Every year they say Golden State's going to be better, and every year it's kind of meh. Now, if they have Clay back and healthy, that'll be a different story. And then Utah, San Antonio when they get into December. But man, that last little stretch there. So like you just said, Denver, Toronto, Chicago, Philly, Denver. That's going to be absolutely rugged, bro.
Yeah, and Toronto's in a bit of a rebuild. We're going to have to see how their roster is. They've made some moves, obviously, with Gary Trent coming back. The team up with Van Fleet, Lowry's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of an interesting team. We're going to see what the new look there is. Chicago, again, I don't know what to make of Chicago. Vucevic, Ball. They still have what's his face, Levine, DeMar now. So they're all over the place with talent, but it's guys that haven't played together. So they're going to be kind of an interesting one to watch. And then you have the Philly and Denver stretch there, but they're both at home, which is nice. It's good to see that we're going to get them at home during that stretch. So you come off Toronto and Chicago, get both of them. I'm not scared of Golden State this year. Yeah, Curry is always tough. I mean, Curry is he's Curry, right? I mean, he's always tough. But Clay, 2 Achilles like that. I just think it's going to take him a while to get up to speed. I mean, obviously, at the end of November, he'll have a full month under his belt at that point, if he even gets strong. So they'll probably be off limitations. I just don't think he'll be the same player. I mean, he relies a lot on his length and his athleticism to play good defense. It's going to be hard for him to move around. I still think he'll shoot. I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
The player that he was is just no longer a thing.
Sure.
The lottery picks, Wiseman and those other guys still have to prove themselves. Draymond's getting a little bit older, but he's always a challenge. He's always still tough on defense, offense, etc. Mm-hmm. But I think that we can get that one. It's on the road, but I think that that's doable. And then you have Utah, which, I mean, you might have already chalked that up as a loss, if we're being honest. But then you end with Detroit. So Sacramento, Detroit, those are winnable games. Golden State's a winnable game. I really want to see us go 3-4 in that stretch to end the month of November. I think you can do it pretty easily. And then if Chicago and Toronto are meh, then you really just have Philly and Denver to deal with there in that second half of November. That really scares me. If we're gelling at the time that we're supposed to be gelling, both those games should be competitive. And I think if you can split that, you're happy. Beginning of November there, that stretch though that's going to be tough. I mean, you get Houston, they're going to be probably terrible for a while. They have the rookie Jalen Green. I think his name's Jalen.
Yeah, Jalen Green.
They're already talking today. It came out that they're working with trade Wall, so he probably won't be there. Yeah. He's probably going to be gone here pretty quick. So there's nothing in Houston that really terrifies you, and then you go right back into Denver there. But I just think That's the rough one. If you can win 2 of those 4 games against the Clippers, Lakers, Phoenix, and Nuggets, if you can go half those games and then run into that Houston and Toronto and Chicago, you're looking pretty good. And I think Cleveland and Indiana. I mean, Indiana is going to be weird. Again, they're one of those teams that they have Carlisle in there now, so they have a new coach. They're going to have to integrate that system. They have really good bigs. They always give us trouble.
Yeah,
so Indiana is going to be a weird team to deal with. And then Cleveland. They don't scare me. They don't scare anybody for years.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and it's going to be interesting because I think that this starting lineup can play with any team, right? I mean, our starters are, and that's something that I feel like is kind of being glossed over amongst the national media. If they're saying Portland's over under is 42 games or 44 games or whatever the Vegas odds are at right now, I don't quite understand how they don't see us at least staying stagnant or being better than we were last year, because the injuries that we faced in the first half of the season, when you're looking at CJ and Nurk, and then the trade, we had to integrate Norman Powell and completely change our starting lineup halfway through the year, 3/4 of the way through the year, however you want to break it down. And then we have, in my opinion, a really terrible bench unit for defensive purposes.
Last year was terrible.
Dude, it was embarrassing. And so people look at Portland and they say, well, they have a bad defense, right? Well, yes, we're not going to be a fantastic defending team, but we are going to be improved this year. We are going to be better. So when you're talking about games like the Clippers, Phoenix, I mean, the Clippers don't even have Kawhi. Phoenix, LA, the Lakers, I'm not afraid of anybody per se. I'm just more worried about, can we stay healthy? Are we going to see the improved defense that you and I are hoping we can see out of just subtracting Melo and Cantor out of a bunch of those second units and taking 25 minutes away from them in crucial crunch time? So,
when those guys were all playing together, our defensive rating, at least for the starters, is actually pretty good. It was not bad. We were one of the most efficient starting units in the entire NBA.
Yep.
We talked about it. We're still not a fan of having the guards being as small as they are. But with no Kawhi, I mean – this is the thing. This is the beginning of the year. So we're bringing back a lot of chemistry. Now, some of those teams on that list, Phoenix really hasn't changed. The Lakers, they haven't really changed. I mean, they've had some injuries they've been dealing with, but most of their guys are going to be the same. Their bench is going to be completely different again, but they have the main core of what they want to bring back. I mean, LeBron and AD and Westbrook now, I mean, he can fit in with any team because he does. He just does. He's a passer. He does what he does. You can fit him onto really any team, and that team will be competitive. So that's not going to change. But with the Nuggets, again, we actually played okay against them with our starters. I still think the problem in that series was our bench. We just didn't have the depth. We didn't have the defense. Guys like Millsap and Morris are making us look like idiots.
Right.
I think to get ahead of that schedule, beginning's going to be rough. You're going to come in. The one advantage you're going to have is the fact that we have the same group of starters. Maybe have a new coach, sure, but these guys at least know how to play with each other. They know where each other likes to be. Mm-hmm. That's going to be a huge plus. And I think if you can get 2 of those wins out of those 4 teams right there, you're going to end the second half of November probably doing pretty good, I hope. I mean, this is all speculation at this point. Nobody truly knows. But I look at the second half and I think, you got the Nuggets there, you got the Jazz there. But realistically, you can easily go and finish strong. There's a 4-game road trip that's always going to be difficult to deal with. But you come back and you have a 4-game home stand. So I like kind of what they're able to do there. That doesn't scare me so much. So we'll see. The chemistry is going to be interesting. I'm glad we got those teams at the beginning of November and not quite the end when they had a chance to gel a little bit more.
Yeah, I hope that we are playing well enough to where Dame doesn't have to play 38 to 40 minutes every single night in and night out. Hopefully that we have the thing that I would look for is Anthony to step up and scoring in the second unit, take some of the pressure off of Dame and CJ for having to produce. The other thing is, we don't know how Chauncey's offense is going to run, and we don't know if he has some magic way of getting maybe easier buckets or non-isolation scoring where it's more ball movement and floor stretching. So we'll see. Hopefully an improved ball movement will also take some of the pressure off. His theory is that improved ball movement will help get everybody involved on the offensive end, which will translate to the defensive end. I'm not really sure I buy that. I kind of think that's just sort of coach speak, but we'll see. That's what he wants to instill, and I totally get that. I'm glad that he has that plan. I'm just kind of curious as to how he thinks he's going to pull that off.
Well, again, we've talked about the guards and with their play styles. It's going to be difficult for him to pull that off because they play a certain way. They're good at certain things. Mm-hmm. It is going to be difficult. to make that a reality. Now, if you bring Ben Simmons in, if that's an actual thing that ends up happening, I know the rumors are always out there. They're always going to be out there for a while, but now you're talking him running point guard. Maybe Dame runs more shooting guard, plays off ball more. Now you're talking about a guard who's pass first. Now you are talking about potentially moving guys around. But CJ and Dame together, Norman Powell's not going to play. He's not going to pass the ball very much. He's good at what he does too. They're ISO scorers. So as much as I want to see the ball movement, I agree with you. I think the bench will be better because I think Anthony gets better every single year at distributing the ball. And I think Larry Nance coming in is a great passing big guy. So I think you'll see more movement there, which is great. But the starting unit, I mean, Rocco's not going to pass the ball. Nurk is a great passer, and I'd love to see them utilize him more passing from the top of the key and all that fun stuff. So there could be the potential to do that. Just not sure it's going to end up happening. So we'll see. We'll see how that works.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. We hit kind of some milestones this week on the pod, so I just want to real quick just say, if people could just please, if you're listening at this point, sub on YouTube. It's really helpful for us. Leave a comment and a like. As much as you think comments don't help, they do, and we love hearing from people. Our last video actually ended up with the most comments we've got on a video, so I want to try to beat that record this week.
And views, most views. We broke a record for views, which is cool. It's awesome.
Yeah. We're excited.
You guys were involved with subs. The most subs I think we got in 1 week.
On one video.
And share the news, because we get to 500 subs. Somebody here is going to get free tickets. I mean, we're going to keep doing these things. We're going to do these giveaways. We love to engage. I'll grab a beer with you at the game. I go to a lot of games. I love it. We're talking about being a season ticket holder. We're getting to that point.
Sheesh.
Within the next couple of years, me and the missus. So we would love to be able to give you guys free stuff. You just got to spread the word. You know, we're doing our best to continue to give you guys content. We love talking with you guys and engaging in the comments. You know, again, Twitter, we're a little inactive lately. I typically run most of our Twitter. Craig kind of goes as himself, which is cool. I tried. I end up engaging more as the podcast page, I guess. I don't know what you call yourself. They can count. Whatever. Anyway, but I've always been out with everything going on lately. But normally we're pretty good about engaging. We try to talk with you guys and engage that way. I'm on Instagram. We do the Instagram thing. We're not very into it. I don't know. I need to be better at social media, but you can follow us there. We will be doing giveaways on there as well. So again, the more followers, we're going to take a look and start doing more fun stuff as we get into the second year. We really appreciate all the support per usual. This is a short week, and we didn't have much to go over. That training camp stuff. I think as camp starts rolling around and preseason's right around the corner, we're going to continue to do stuff. We're working on getting you guys some more special guests. We have some people we've been talking to. Some of them I think you're going to like. Some of them you'll probably know. More Blazers Edge people in the mix, and some other guys, some other sites that we've been talking to, that we engage with, that we want to get on our show and chat Blazers. So look forward to that. And I don't have anything else to add, man. I hope people enjoy the format still. It's been fun kind of playing with this. We're going to continue to get more and more acclimated to this and bring over pictures and screen shares and all that cool stuff, and really be able to make this show a little bit better. So any feedback that you guys have, continue to give us, and
please.
That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's it, man. Just like I said, like and sub so we can give those tickets away. We really want to get 500 this year. And other than that, we're going to be back next week. We are going to talk the December schedule. I'm sure we'll have more news because it seems like everything keeps breaking. Maybe if there's some John Wall or Ben Simmons trade over the next week that we can talk about, we'll talk about it. It probably won't include the Blazers, but that's totally fine. We're going to break down the schedule. We'll have a few things to go through. And other than that, that's it for us. We out.
Bye.
Peace.